hope you brought your Bibles with you tonight. We're going to talk about the devil tonight. The devil is lying, he's well, and he causes a lot of people, or will cause a lot of people to lose their soul because people listen to the devil and won't listen to God. I believe that God had put Satan on this earth for one purpose, to tempt every man that is a child of God. To see if he will be able to live in heaven with him. You know, it's like a baseball team or a basketball team or anything else. You have to go out and try out to see whether you make the team. And Satan, as far as I know, has tempted every man that's walked on this earth that is a servant of God. He even tempted his son. If you have your Bibles, you may want to turn over to Genesis, 3rd chapter. We're going to start there. That's the first place that we've seen Satan. Satan is to live upon this earth until Judgment Day, and when Judgment Day is over, he'll be cast in the lake of fire and be burned. That's what the Word of the Bible says. Now, Satan has got him and his helpers, and they're about trying to see how many people that they can go to hell with them, and they're doing a pretty good job. If you look at our country and the way that people live in the countries the world over, not many people serve God. Over in Genesis, 3rd chapter, we're going to read the first 5 verses. It says, "Now the serpent was more cunning, clever as the word, than any beast of the field, which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, As God indeed said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden. And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the trees which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, You shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. Then the serpent said to the woman, You will not surely die, for God knows that in the days you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Satan just did twisted the word just a little bit, did he not? To get her to take of this fruit. He deceives people. He deceived Eve. He deceived, we'll see, me and you if we'll let him. Over in the 6th chapter of Genesis, you're going to find Noah. Noah was one of the few people back in that day and time that followed God. And I'm sure that the time Noah got this ark built, and you got to understand this ark was 450 feet long, 75 foot wide, 45 foot high, 3 stories high. It took over 100 years that how many people walked by and mocked Noah for building this ark. They said at the time it never rained upon the earth. And why would a man build an ark that big and build it that direction? But anyway, Noah built this according to what God told him to. Because notice what it says. We're going to start at verse 5 of chapter 6. It said, "Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent and thought of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorrowful that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy man from whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, creeping things, and birds of the air, and for I am sorry that I made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord." He goes on and talks about Noah being perfect in all that he did and when he walked with God. So there was hope for mankind, that he can live in such a way that he'll make it to heaven someday. Noah was walking with God and after God. Over in 2 Peter 2:5, you're going to find it It talks about Noah. And it says in, let's start at verse 4. For God, I did not spare the angels who sinned, to cast them down into hell and deliver them into the chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment. And did not spare the ancient world, but saved Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood on the world of the ungodly. And he goes on and talks about Sodom and Gomorrah and destroying Sodom and Gomorrah because of the wickedness. Over in Revelation, it's going to talk about Satan. Over in Revelation, the 12th chapter. Verses 7 through 12. And notice what it's going to talk about. It says, the war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought. But they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil, and Satan, who deceives the whole world, was cast into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Then I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come, for the accuser of our brethren, to accuse them before our God day and night, has been cast down. And they overcome him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they did not love their lives to the death. Therefore rejoice, O heaven, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. So it's only going to be a short time for Satan over here, because it's going to be a short time till God comes back. When he talks about over here in the 10th verse, let's see. Let's see. When it talks about for the accusers of our brother, who accused them before our God, turn back to the book of Job. And you're going to see where Satan is going to bring an accusation against Job before God. Job, the 1st chapter. Verses 6 through 12. It says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before God, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, from where do you come? So Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it. And then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth? A blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil. So Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, around his house, and around all that he has in every side? You have blessed the works of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your hands, only do not lay a hand on his person. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. And you're going to find out that here that he takes everything that Job has, every livestock, every animal he has, and he takes his 7 or 10 kids. And he gets on down into verse 21, after he'd done all of this, and Job makes this statement. He's going to tear his robe in verse 20. Let's go read 20, 21. And then Job rose and tore his robe and shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said, naked I come from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. Right there. And the Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrong. Most people want to blame God. things happen to them, and temptation comes upon them, and things happen to them in their lives, the first person they won't blame is blame God. They don't blame Satan for what goes on in that life. But he goes on, and it's going to, since he didn't sin that time, Satan's going to come back the second time. In chapter 2 and starting at verse 1, again there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said to Satan, from where do you come? And so Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and from the earth and from walking back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth? A blameless, upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil. And still he holds fast his integrity, although you incite me against him, to destroy him without cause. So Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin. Yes, all that a man has, he will give for his life. But stretch out your hand and touch his bones and his flesh, and he will surely curse you to his face. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord, struck Job with painful blows from the soles of his foot to the crown of his head. And he took for himself potter's shears with which to scrape himself, which he set in the midst of the ashes. Then his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. But he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity? In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. The integrity that Job had, every Christian ought to have. Because of the things that he went through, the suffering and pain that he went through, and if you've never had a ball, you can't imagine what Job probably went through. Joe Gibbons had one, I think, on the end of his nose there, and I asked him, I said, how would you like to have one of them from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet? He said, I would. They were very painful. I had one on my leg one time, and every time your heart beat, it beat. Pain come out of it. If they come up and fester up, they'll have fester probably these little fingers. They are bad. When I was a kid, a lot of people's kids, you didn't have the bath facilities that you have today, and for the uncleanliness, I guess, before you got the ball, but they come pretty often. But a lot of pain from it. You can even go back to Joseph. You know, when Potiphar's wife come to him, tempting him. How many times was Joseph tempted by Satan to turn away from God? But Joseph never did. He lived for God and did what God had told him to do. Over in 1 Peter 5. Find way to the left. It says, likewise, you young people, submit yourself to your elders. Yes, all of you be submissive to one another, and be clothed with humility, for God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Therefore, humble yourselves by the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Cast all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. It said, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him, steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same sufferings are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. You may, but may the God of all grace, who called us to eternal glory, by Christ Jesus, after you have suffered a while, for perfect, establish, and strengthen, and settle you. In him be the glory and the dominion forever and ever. Amen. When it talks about over here, be sober, be vigilant, it's talking about being self-controlled and watchful. Most of you women probably have never went deer hunting. But if you've ever went deer hunting, and these men that have went deer hunting, tell you the truth what I'm telling you, but you've taken over big doe deer. She's probably the most alert animal that I've ever seen. She's always got her ears up, she's always looking, and she's always smelling. She's looking for danger of any kind. And if she ever gets a whiff of you, she'll snort and blow, and here she goes. And if she ever sees something that it's not supposed to be there, she'll look at that thing, and she'll wobble, and she'll look, and finally she'll get off the food plot if she sees it. It's amazing that what they'll do. You know, that's the way we need to be. We need to have our ears up, our heads up, and we need to be looking for the temptations that's coming from Satan. And we need to pray about it. When Jesus was being crucified, when he was in the garden, over in Luke the 22nd chapter, you're going to find out where that Peter is going to tell the Lord. He said, I'll never forsake you. I'll die with you, whatever it takes. I'm not going to turn and go from you. In verse 31 of chapter 22, and after Jesus, Peter told Jesus this, they had been suffering, and this one is going to take place. And the Lord said to Simon, indeed, Satan has asked for you that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith should not fail. And when you have returned to me, strengthen your brother. But he said to him, Lord, I am ready to go with you both to prison and to death. Then he said, I'll tell you, Peter, the rooster shall not crow this day before you have denied me 3 times that you know me. Then in verse let's see what it is. I've seen another Bible and I've done this. In verse 40 and verse 46, I believe is the 2 we're looking for. They went to the garden. We'll read verse 39 and 40. And coming out, he went to the Mount of Olives as he was accustomed, and his disciples also followed him. And when he came to the place, he said to them, pray that you may not enter into temptation. Now, he's telling these people, and you know what, he done told Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. But all the disciples left him when they captured him. Peter followed along close behind, but he didn't stay with him. The rest of them left him. Over in verse 46, then he said to them, why do you sleep? Rise and pray lest you enter into temptation. These people were sleeping when they needed to pray. Sometimes we as children of God sleep when we need to be praying and need to be watchful for Satan. Over in Matthew, when I told you that all people are tempted, and Jesus was not going to be an exception to the rule. In Matthew, the 4th chapter, and it's also in the 11th chapter of Luke. We're going to read one in Matthew. We're going to read the first 12 verses. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights afterwards, he was hungry. And when the tempter came to him, he said, if you are the Son of God, command that these stones become bread. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Then the devil took him up into the holy city and set him on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, you shall give his angels charge over you. And in their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Jesus said to him, it is written again, you shall not tempt the Lord your God. Again the devil took him up on an exceedingly high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, all these things I will give you if you will fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. So, Jesus was also tempted 3 times, and how many people in this world, if they would have had the things offered to them that Jesus did, would not have jumped on the tomb? There'd be very few people in this world that would take it. But Jesus didn't. Jesus knew what was important. And it should be important to us that we not let Satan tempt us and take our life away from us. Over in 1 Thessalonians 5, 21 and 22, it says, test all things, hold fast what is good, abstain from every form of evil. What is he telling us? If something seems not right, or we think it's not right, what is he saying to do? Stay away from it. But you know, a lot of people see things, and you can go back to our politicians. A lot of people in the world, they get a chance at things. I know here the other day they had a bookkeeper for, I think it was this steadfast heat and air. I forgot how many $1,000 that she had swindled them out of. Money was there, the temptation was there. You know, it's like a bait line, taking a hook with a bait on it and dangling it in front of a fish. You know, if you dang it and he's hungry, you know what he'll do? He'll take it. We don't need to be taking the bait of the devil and lose our souls. Over in Romans, the 12th chapter. We're going to read verses 9 through 21. It says, it talks about here to behave like a Christian. These are the things that we do as Christians. It said, let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be kind and affectionate to one another with brotherly love, and honoring, giving preference to one another. Not lagging in diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Rejoice in hope, patient in tribulation, continually steadfast in prayer. Distributing to the needs of the saints, giving to hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Be of the same mind towards one another. Do not set your mind on high things, but associate with the humble. Do not be wise in your own opinions. Repay no one evil for evil. Have regard for good things in the sight of all men. If it is possible, as much as depends on you, deal peaceably with all men. Beloved, do not avenge yourselves, but rather give place to the wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Therefore, if your enemy hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him a drink. For in so doing, you will heap coals of fire on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So if we're going to live for God, that's the way that we need to do it. Over in 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, and verse 13. God has made a way out. We talked about every man being tempted. And when every man is tempted, God is going to make a way of escape. Joseph had a way of escape. You know what he done? He run. That's what we need to do. We need to run when temptation comes upon us. Run from it. Don't linger around and hang around and let Satan get hold of you. In verse 13 of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, it says, no temptation has overtaken you except as such is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you're able. But with the temptation will also make a way of escape that you may be able to bear it. There's a way out of every temptation. God has told us that there's a way out and we need to look for it. If we have to do like Joseph, we have to leave our coat and run, we need to leave our coat and run. Over in James, the first chapter in verses 12 through 18. Notice what James says about it. It said, blessed is the man who endures temptation. For when we have been approved, we will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and to sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. Do not be deceived, my beloved brother. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. Of his own will he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruit of his creation. God wants us to be as all he intended for man to be in the beginning of time. He did not intend for man to sin, but man has sinned, but he has made a way for us to make it because Jesus Christ died for our sins. Open Revelation 2:10. He's talking to the says this. He's talking to the church at Ephesus. Says, do not fear any of those things which are about to suffer. Indeed, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, that you may be tested. And you will have tribulation 10 days. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. That is the key to it, is being faithful to God if we want that crown. In the beginning, God intended for man to keep his commandments, and to serve him. Larry quoted this morning in Matthew 22. The Pharisees asked Jesus what was the greatest commandment, and 22:37-39 says, you shall worship the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul, and then the second one is love your neighbor as yourself. It's the two great commandments. But you know, the law was given to point out sin. And God intended for people to keep his commandments. Because Satan has deceived people not to keep them. I mean, you can look at the world today. Look at the United States today. If you want to look at a country that it's not, has went downhill tremendously from the time that I was when I was a kid, you could lay something in your yard. You could drop a $100 bill in your yard. When you come back, a $100 bill would be there. I don't care how many people walk back. It'd be there. People wouldn't pick it up. But it's not that way anymore. The law says that you're not to murder or kill a man. Satan says it's all right to kill a child that his mother's woman. You look at the number of babies that are aborted this day and time, those people the mother and those people who are doing it will stand before God and answer for it. They are murdering a human being. You know, it's crazy the way our laws are written and the way things are. You know, a guilty person this day and time, most times won't be anything much happen to him. Me and my brother was talking yesterday, and to give you an example of the way things are, the game of fish. My brother was duck hunting one time, and you're only allowed to have 3 guns in it. If you got a belly shotgun, you put 4 with a plug in it. You know how to prevent it. He got caught with that 4th shell in there that cost him $1,000. Guy that's my boss was planting a food plot up on his place up Clinton, put corn out and oats out. I don't know if it's his brother-in-law, somebody went up for a hunt. It cost him $680 baiting over a plot. And, you know, a person would get out here and steal something and do anything to him enough. It's amazing the way things have changed and the way things are. But anyway, it says that you shall not put any other God before me. You can look at people today. When I was at Redfield, if we could have got half the people that was going by the tar count to fish, we could fill the building. What were they doing? They were forsaking God and for their own pleasure. It don't make any difference if you're hunting or fishing or if it's your family or if it's your day off and you just want to relax. We need to put God first in our lives. We do not let Satan tempt us that we put these things before us because we'll lose our souls if we do. It says you shall not commit adultery. You can get over in Matthew the 5th chapter and verse 28. It says, whoever looks upon a woman to lust after her has already committed adultery in his heart. You look at life today, how many young women come up pregnant and not married? You look at the number of men and women that live together that's not married. It's crazy the way that this world has turned. And a lot of people don't realize it, and some of them don't care. There's people that members of the church that do the same thing. That'll get out here and do this. I don't know if anybody here, but there are people that I have seen do it. But we need to do what God has told us to do, that we may have a life with God someday. Over in Romans, the 1st chapter, he's talking about the Gentiles and we're going to start at verse 18 and verse 32. Notice what Paul is going to tell these people. And the things that's going on. The things that went on then is going on today. It says, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. But what may be known of God is manifested in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible men, and birds, and four-footed animals, and creeping things. Therefore God also gave them up to uncleanness, and the lust of their heart, to dishonor their bodies among themselves, who exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worship and serve the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this reason God gave them up to vile passions, even their women exchanged the natural use of what is against nature. Likewise also men leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their love for one another, men with men, committing what is shameful, and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error, which it was due. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to the base plan to do those things which are not fitting. Being filled with all unrighteousness, secular and moral, wicked, covetousness, malicious, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, empty murders, evil-mindedness. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful, ignoring the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things deserve death. Not only do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. When you talk about these men, when I preached at Redfield, I was in a class one day and found out that one of our members had a practicing partner. Had another guy went to talk to him, tried to get him to change. He'd been raised in a church. And he said, you know, I have the same thing with that man that you do with your wife. I said, the difference is, I said, mine is, I can justify with God, and you can't. And when we got down to the end of the thing, we tried to get him to turn his life around and leave that man. And he made this statement. He said, I'd rather die in hell than change. I said, that's exactly what you do. The man never came back, and he didn't need to come back if he was not going to repent of his sins. We need to follow God, and we need to do what God has told us to do. Over in Romans, the 12th chapter, I'm going to give you one more verse, and I'm going to shut it. It says in Romans 12, 1 and 2, Larry used this in his class this morning. He says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, I beg you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God. Do not be conformed to this world, be transformed with the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable in sight of God. That's the way we need to do. We need to give our lives to God. We need to be a living sacrifice, and we need to serve God with all of our heart, with all of our soul, all of our mind. If there's anyone here tonight that's not with Christ on the baptism, you need the opportunity to deny it and return to the truth. You need to get your life right. You don't need to go home and not be right with the Lord. If you don't want to understand this.